Good morning. My name is Rick Davis. I'm with TV Toastmasters. I'm the president, and we have a very special meeting today. It's Saturday, January 18th, 2014. Yay! We have a very enthusiastic group this morning. We have a very, very special meeting, leadership, 100 years of leadership, and to lead us in our very special meeting today, Rick Barron.
Thank you, Rick. Do you ever wonder how they do it? People who are just natural leaders of others and organizations, they have a secret. And today, we are here with 5 area leaders who will share their secrets on how leaders are made. Leaders from business, public service, nonprofit, and politics are here today to share with you their top secrets on how leaders are made. Before we get started, I'd like to share some hope with you. If you're sitting out there wondering how you can make 2014 your best year ever, come visit us at TV Toastmasters. We have a comfortable, safe environment where we help each other grow to achieve the goals that we desire. We meet the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. and the third Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. at the Anderson Center, 7850 5 Mile Road, and you are welcome to join us. You can learn more online at www.tvtoastmasters.com. Let's get started with the program. If you want to become a better leader in the shortest amount of time, learn from people who have done it. Our first speaker has a lengthy resume of success in many leadership roles, which you can read in her bio. To sum up her success, in her roles as Cincinnati mayor, vice mayor, and city council member, she helped enhance the quality of life in our neighborhoods, helped build a globally competitive local economy, and has responsibly managed a limited city budget. In addition to her public service, she has taught leadership courses at Northern Kentucky University and served as the director of women's service organizations. She exemplifies the phrase involved community leader, and you are about to learn her secrets to effective leadership with her presentation, Leading Change, Transformation and Relationship. Please help me welcome Roxanne Qualls.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Rick, and good morning. It's a pleasure being here with you. I've had a variety of opportunities to talk with a variety of different groups about leadership. But before I actually share with you the lessons I've learned, what I want to do is share with you a story. Because for me, the story brings home the perspective that one has to keep. A number of years ago, I was taking a walk in Cincinnati's wonderful Eden Park. Great day, beautiful spring, you know, the flowers were blooming, the birds were singing. It was terrific. I see this car begin to approach me, and it's slowing down. So I assumed that the person was going to stop, and probably was going to stop because they probably recognized me. So sure enough, the car, it's this big old Cadillac, comes up, slows down, stops. And the guy in the car, he's in the car with his wife. He's an older gentleman. He buzzes down the window, and he's very excited. And he says, "You're Roxanne Qualls." And of course, being human, I stood up a little taller. I lowered my voice and said, "Well, yes, I am." And he said, "You know, I told my wife you were the mayor. Do you know where we can park?" And what I've learned is that for many people, leadership is about knowing where to park. They want someone who will basically have the answer to provide direction to them. And we know when we ask the question, what is leadership? Who are leaders? What does it really mean? That this is a question that is on the minds of many, many people. You just have to Google leadership and you come up with over 500 million hits. It's astounding. And if you were to type leadership into Amazon.com, you're going to come back with a response that also is in the thousands of books that people have written about leadership. And why is that? Why are we so preoccupied with the question of leadership? I would argue that it's because as we find ourselves in an increasingly complex, diverse, multicultural world, our organizations, ranging from family to church to business to politics, have become more complicated. That it is not simply a matter anymore of managing for results. It's about providing leadership that brings about the types of positive changes for both the people within the organizations as well as for the organizations themselves. And so this morning, in the brief time that I have, I'd like to share with you 3 lessons that I've learned about leadership. What it is, what its purpose is, and also what's probably one of the most important skills that you can have. What is it? Well, you know, you're going to read a lot of books that try to get at what leadership is, and many of them are going to focus on qualities. But I would say to you that what leadership is it's a relationship. And first and foremost, you need to recognize that it's a relationship. It's a relationship between a leader and those that choose to follow him or her. And they make that choice because the leader expresses and embodies the aspirations, the values, and the goals of those people who are choosing to follow that person. It's a dynamic relationship that involves changing for the better both those people who are in leadership as well as those that follow. The second thing that I've learned is what the purpose of leadership is, because obviously when you're young and starting out, you don't have a lot of answers. And so as I've reflected back on what has been a lengthy career, the purpose of leadership, I believe, is to bring about positive, constructive change. And that's true whether you're talking in very small groups, very intimate groups like your family, but also very true when you're looking on a global level at political institutions as well as government. And then finally, you have to ask yourself the question oftentimes, of all the skills of leadership, what are some of the most important? And I would suggest to you this morning that the most important skill of leadership is knowing how to manage and make productive the inevitable competition and conflict that results from leadership. And why is that the case? Why do you have to manage competition and conflict? Because, 2 reasons. One is that as a leader, people don't choose to follow you simply because of who you are. You have to actually articulate and express the values, goals, and aspirations that people can believe in and do believe in. But there are other people out there who have competing ideas, visions, values, aspirations, and goals. So competition is inevitable. Also, internally within groups, you're also oftentimes going to find that people, as well as different factions within those who follow you, have different ideas and needs for resources. And so, yes, communicating is important. Yes, sometimes even managing well is important. Yes, being charismatic can be helpful. But ultimately, one of the key, if not the key quality that a great leader has to have is the understanding of conflict and the ability to manage it. So, constructive change, a relationship, and the ability to manage conflict. Those were the 3 lessons that I've learned over now almost 40 years of public service. And I thank you for inviting me to be here, and I'm very excited about this group. In fact, you know, it may be getting on my schedule for future visits. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
I would say pride in the word it's been and doing.
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease
Freedom,
like
requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
The concept of building leadership around relationships is one that I think is insightful, because what it really does is it creates a partnership between people where each person gets something out of the relationship, not something we typically think when we think about leaders and those that follow them. If you've ever found yourself in a rut, our next speaker has a solution for you. He started his career in a foxhole as a Marine Corps officer. After serving as one of the proud, he completed degrees in police science, criminal justice, and law, and became Ohio's only sheriff with education and experience as an attorney. He leads a county organization of almost 200 people with an annual budget of over $17 million. A very long way from that foxhole. In his spare time, he teaches criminal justice and law enforcement. He serves on the Ohio Criminal Sentencing Commission and the Ohio Death Penalty Task Force. Our next speaker is the poster child for vision, ambition, and determination. Please help me welcome Clermont County Sheriff Tim Rodenberg with his speech, Leadership by Example.
Thank you. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Couple quick corrections. The only foxhole I was ever in was in San Diego. In Quantico, Virginia. I was in the Marines during the Vietnam era, but the war ended before I could get over there. At the time I was very disappointed about that, but as I've aged, I count my blessings. I probably didn't have to go over there and participate in that unfortunate tragedy. But in any event, I'm here today to talk about my philosophy of leadership, something I brought to the sheriff's office when I entered that about 17 plus years ago. And that came from the Marine Corps. My Marine experience was probably the most significant thing in my life that prepared me for what I'm doing today. I don't believe there's any question about that. I was a little bit shy, reserved, lacked self-confidence, not really sure of myself. And I went into the Marine Corps against the advice of a number of people. They all thought I was crazy, but in any event, and that's persisted, by the way, to this point in time. But I did so. And I went into officer training, graduated from that, flew jets for a while, landed on an aircraft carrier, then decided I wanted to go back to the infantry, and I did end up in the infantry, and I did that for probably about 3 years. I was in my early 20s, and I had 250 young Marines to take care of. I was a company commander. That's pretty young to have that many people who you're responsible for, quite frankly, their very life. But in the Marine Corps, there is a philosophy that, of leadership that permeates the whole organization, and that's leadership by example. Leadership by example, very simply put, is you set the standard, and then everyone should, if it's working, and you're persuasive enough, will follow in behind. You set the example, you expect yourself to follow, and others. You don't have dual sets of standards. You don't set a standard for yourself that might be down here and one for your subordinates or your co-workers or whatever that are up here. You set the example in everything. Your appearance, your behavior, on and off duty, and I'm a very much a advocate of that. I truly believe that your performance as a leader does not just go 9 to 5 when you're on the job. It has to be your whole life. It has to consume you, because you're in the position of the community that you're going to be in the spotlight, and people watch you. So you have to set the example. What does that mean? Well, you do everything that you would expect your subordinates to. Nothing more, nothing less. You behave yourself in the way you expect your subordinates to. Nothing more, nothing less. I know in some organizations there's different rules for the various, I guess you might say, ranks. We don't have that in the sheriff's office. Oh, there might be privileges with rank, I don't mean that. But as far as standards of behavior, we expect the same across the board. And when I came into the office back in 1997, I made that very clear. I told my staff, I said, if you see me out on the weekend in a bar, on the table with a lampshade on my head, grabbing all the ladies and kissing them while my wife and kids are at home, you can do that. Or if you see me out with a gal on my arm that's not my wife, you can do that. But if you don't see me doing that, I don't expect any of you to do that. And there are a few other things I talked to them about. And I said, we're not going to tolerate that, because we have something in our occupation that no other occupation in society has. We have the right to take liberty and to legally take life under certain circumstances. And when you think of that, that's an awesome responsibility. And I say we have to set a high example. Not just me as a leader, but us as leaders of the community, the whole organization, so that people can rely on us when they pick up the phone and dial 911 and one of us responds. They know what they're getting. They don't have a bigger problem with our response than they did before they called us. So I expect professional performance. I expect this agency, the Clermont County Sheriff's Office, to set the standard in law enforcement, the benchmark for other agencies around us. Now there's something else I learned too, that as a sheriff, that I felt was very important. When I first became sheriff, I didn't have to be a peace officer. I did not have to go to the academy. Ohio law did not require that. But I felt that was very important for me to do that because I came from the legal community. I did not work my way up through the ranks of a police department or the sheriff's office. And I thought, if my troops are going to see me and respect me and follow me, I have to have the same training and the same background and at least the same education and the skills that they do. I never can catch up with them in making arrests, writing tickets. Most of them have done more than that, and probably in 1 week than I've done in my whole career. I don't write tickets for various reasons, but in any event, I felt it was important for me to at least learn the job. The other thing I think is important with leadership by example is everything your unit does, you are responsible for. Everything your agency does, you're responsible for. If they fail to do it, you're responsible for it. However, if there's credit to be given, the credit goes to the troops. I tell people more often than once, I am the least most important person in this organization. The troops are the most important people in the organization. Certainly I point the direction, I tell them what direction we want to go, where we should end up, but if good things happen, I give them credit. And when people tell me, you're doing a great job, Sheriff, boy, you're a great sheriff, I say, no, I'm not a great sheriff. I might be a good sheriff, I might point people in the right direction, but it's not me. It's the grunts and the troops that get us there. Hopefully that's been some help to you. I enjoy my work. It's a tremendous job. I enjoy serving the public and the people I've worked with. And again, thank you for having me here today, and I too may return some future day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
If you've ever found yourself humming the words to Johnny Paycheck's famous song, "Take This Job and Shove It," then pay close attention to our next speaker. He oozes business acumen and more than likely has personally coached more business owners than Tony Robbins. As the leader of a local chamber of commerce, He's plugged into what works for over 700 member businesses representing over 20,000 employees. His 25-plus years of both public and private sector experience have allowed him to sharpen skills in concept development, program planning, and project management. When our next speaker isn't serving the local business community, he volunteers his time leading local boards and committees, being named by Cincy Magazine as one of Cincinnati's Power 100 for 5 consecutive years. Our next speaker is certainly someone you want to meet at your next networking event with a presentation titled, Time is the Enemy. Please provide a warm welcome to Matt Van Sant.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure being here today to spend a little bit of time with you, sharing some of the experience I've developed over the 20 to 30 years of work in the not-for-profit sector, the Chamber of Commerce, but also as a public servant early in my career. I want to talk today about time. Time is the enemy. The subject that we're speaking about is making leaders, and leaders are not made overnight. It takes time, and I've had a lot of experience, and I've had the good fortune in my career to be involved in many, many different organizations and causes. And in that role, many times I spend a portion of that responsibility recruiting folks to work with me. And I can't tell you how many times I walk up to an individual and say, hey, we're working on a project, we're raising money for United Way, will you join me? And the words that come out of their mouths, I don't have time. And we talk about that a little bit. What do you mean you don't have time? We all have the same amount of time. And we talk about the real issue, and that is this project is not a priority. And so I spend a certain amount of time convincing this person that we all have important work to do, but we sooner or later have to talk about the things that are important. So when I recruit now people to get involved in volunteer activities, I say this can take 2 minutes or 2 hours. But please don't tell me you don't have time. And so if they don't say that, what I hear is, well, it's not the right time. How many times have we heard that from somebody about getting involved in making leaders? It's not the right time. We all know last night when we went to bed that certain things changed overnight. Physical, social, economic changes in the community. And each day when we wake up and when we go to bed tonight, things will change. And it will never be the right time. How many times have you said to yourself, it's not the right time? And you will find that you can say that same thing day after day. Shortly after you said, I don't have time, it's not the right time. Or you hear, I only give 110% to the things that I do. You know, there is no such thing as 110%. You know, we all have one life, we all have 24 hours in a day, and there's no such thing as 110%. What I've learned in my life is that I'm way overcommitted, but the people that invite me to get involved in activities have learned that I'm going to make a good faith effort, and I'm going to work really hard to move that needle a little bit. But you'll never hear me, when invited to get involved in something, say, I don't have time. It's not the right time. Or I have to give 110% to meet my own personal expectations. I want to spend a little bit of time also talking about 3 things that are really important. Once you get beyond this idea that time is the enemy. First and foremost, I think it's important for leaders to do their homework. Do their homework. Leadership, I think, starts early in life, in school. There's a lot to be learned, a lot of books written, a lot of speeches made, and I believe that there's never information or knowledge that's not available that will assist you in becoming a great leader. Learning is a lifelong responsibility now, and I really truly believe that whatever age you are, you can always learn more about delegating, you can always learn more about being a good negotiator, being a good, having good skills of persuasion. Secondly, and I learned this as a young man, sign up. I think it's really important in life, early on, to sign up and get involved in things, because often great leaders are made not because of what they did very well, but what they learned that they failed at as young people, fail early and fail often. I can remember as a very young man selling ham booth tickets at the church festival, and I couldn't count money and I could barely walk, but I knew I was making a difference, and for the people that asked me to sell ham booth tickets, I know I was moving the needle a little bit. And I also tried to learn how to play the guitar, and I failed miserably. And today I couldn't sing or play an instrument for anything. But I think it's really important to sign up. Far too often we use this, I don't have enough time, and we let time be our enemy instead of our ally as we develop our leadership skills. Lastly, I think it's really important to think about the idea of getting along. Recently on television, there was an interview with Bill Mallory Sr., and he was talking about some of his experiences and learnings as a young man. And he said it's so important that we learn to get along. It's not about civility alone, but it's really trying to find the things that we agree on and work on those assets rather than focusing on threats and liabilities and problems. So I really think it's important to learn how to get along with people, because there are common areas where you can work together and really make great things happen. So time is the enemy. Don't let it be your enemy. Next time someone asks you to get involved, please don't say, I don't have time, it's not the right time, or I only give 110%. That's hogwash. That's hogwash. All we really want is people to sign up, get involved, work hard, and try to make a difference in their community. You know, when I sit down with my granddaughter sometime in a number of years and she says, Grandpa, what did you do with your life? It's not going to be about my occupation or my industry or the companies I worked for or the dollars that I raised or the profits that I made. We're going to talk about the quality of life that we tried to achieve in our communities. Do we have clean air and do we have clean water? Is it a safe place to live? Is it a place where there are recreation opportunities? Is there a good health care system? Is there a good education system? Those are the things we're going to talk about. And I think it's important that you sign up and get involved, and don't let time be your enemy. Thank you.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
When you're having trouble seeing the forest through the trees, it's time to pull up a branch and listen to our next speaker. He started his career buying produce, but his vision and commitment turned that experience into the area's second largest privately held company, grossing a measly $1.6 billion last year. This man is one of the top job creators in the entire country, responsible for setting overall business strategy and keeping his company, Total Quality Logistics, focused on their strengths. His over 2,300 employees arrange the movement of more than 16,000 truckloads of freight per week throughout North America and Mexico. After 17 years at the helm of TQL, this speaker still shadows current employees to ensure his company is supporting their needs. P.S. They're hiring in Nashville. Please join me in welcoming Ken Oakes as he shares his insights on total quality leadership.
Okay, so just a little bit more background. So out of our 2,300 employees, 1,800 of those employees are salespeople. So out of those 1,800 people, we have about 180 or so sales leaders. Every single one of those people, except for two, came through the organization from the ground up. They started as a trainee and they work their way up. So I thought, so since I talk a lot to our people about how they can become leaders, because when they ask, I thought I would just go ahead and make this an opportunity just to tell you what I usually say to them. So in the beginning, so these are entry-level salespeople. So they're trainees at first. So they're all, ready to roll and ready to go after it, and the energy is incredible. So what usually comes up is, how do I move up the ladder, get into leadership role? So the first thing I tell them, the only thing I tell them is lead by example, kind of like what we heard from some of the other guys. And that's really what it's about. Lead by example, do the right things, and then you'll be noticed, right? Then the second thing is to get respect from your peers and to be the go-to person. So if we, in all the leaders in the organization, we talk about our people constantly. We talk about the go-to people, the people who are not in leadership positions yet, the ones that are on the floor, and they are the ones who have the knowledge, who've gained the knowledge, and they share that knowledge. And not only that, but they help everybody around them. So we're moving loads throughout the United States, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there's a lot of times when there's problems. Actually, there's problems all the time, as you could quite imagine, right? So it's the people who step up to help, who really could go and try to help the rookies who don't know what they're doing. And the ones that are here staying late till 6, 7 o'clock, when a truck falls out, something happens to a truck, and we got to find another truck to go pick up a load. It's the people that are sticking around and helping the younger people do their jobs and teach them how to do it and coach them how to do it better. So it's go-to people. And not only that, not only the rookies, it's their peers. It's the ones who they know they can count. If I get all of a sudden, I've got a huge order, 50 loads to cover, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I know that I can count on you or you or you to help me out. You're go-to people, because I know that you're going to help. So it's very important, and we let our people know that that's how you get noticed within the organization. Be a go-to person. Lead by example. The third thing, so once they get that down, and again, we keep it incredibly simple, one step at a time, right? Third thing is education. Got to educate yourself. Don't count on us to educate you. You go after it yourself. You go outside the company, find mentors to talk to who are where you want to be, right? Now, if they ask us, if they ask me, can you recommend somebody inside or outside? I'm on it. But they got to find somebody outside, and they also got to find somebody inside. And we judge who they pick as far as their mentors are, as far as when we're making decisions for the next level. Also, reading. A lot of salespeople don't like to read. I don't enjoy it myself, but I force myself to read. So we tell them, we got plenty of books to recommend, but if you want to just read articles, publications, like Roxanne said, get on Google. You'll find millions and millions of articles on leadership, right? Just get that, just make it a routine. Average 5 minutes a day, average a half an hour a week, whatever it is, you got to do it all the time. So self-education is extremely important. Along with the self-education, through the years, well, in the very beginning, we had no type of leadership development. Actually, we had very little of anything. And you just had to kind of work your way through the system. But now we have leadership development in sales, we have company leadership, we've got mentor programs, we've got all kinds of training programs as far as leadership. But you know what? It's up to that person to take it on themselves, especially when it comes to finding people from the outside. So let's see, so that's the three. Then the fourth one is, let's see, what was that fourth one? Just being proactive about everything that you're doing, really. Going out, getting that education from others, and bringing it back to the company. And then when it comes time to be a leader, you know what? Step up to the plate, do the right things. And it's really about, from the very beginning to the very end, working extremely hard, letting everybody see how hard you're working, and how disciplined you are, and how you hold other people accountable. So really that's about it as far as the leadership development and how we go through it in our company. We give them a lot of resources, but we really put it on them to go after it themselves. If they don't want it, you know what, we're not going to force it on them. So we take it from there.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join a Toastmasters Club.
Have you ever felt that life is dealing you one lemon after another? Then you don't want to miss our next speaker. After starting her career making salads in restaurants, this woman retired from one career, completed associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees, and now runs a successful business. She exemplifies the American dream, trading her salad fork for a position in the city of Dayton as a water meter reader, the third woman ever to fill that position, retiring 30 years later in a leadership position. In 2009, she identified a need to improve her leadership and communication skills, joining Toastmasters International. Since then, she has served in roles of increasing responsibility within Toastmasters and now serves as Toastmasters District 40 Lieutenant Governor of Marketing. She travels throughout Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Indiana, starting new clubs and implementing programs to grow and retain the 3,500 members in 190 clubs. Our next leader exemplifies the Toastmasters slogan, "Where leaders are made." Please help me welcome Brenda Gaines with her speech, "Toastmasters Empowers Leadership."
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. The world needs good leaders. Toastmasters empowers leadership, and Toastmasters is where leaders are made. In 1924, I tell people that Ralph C. Smedley started Toastmasters just for me. Now, we know that's not true, but then when I get a little bit further, you will understand why I say that. He started Toastmasters in a basement at the YMCA in Santa Ana, California. Toastmasters International is a nonprofit organization. The mission is we empower individuals to be effective communicators and leaders. The mission is the values are integrity, respect, excellence, and service. Now, the reason I said that he started this for me is because when I first started college, I was so afraid to get in front of people and speak. My first presentation, my nose was running. I was sweating. I wanted to fall into that crack in the floor and hide. I knew nothing about Toastmasters. The club is the heart of Toastmasters. This is where we practice our skills, whether they are conflict resolution, listening, giving feedback, delegating authority. This is where we do this. And I found that it doesn't cost me very much. That's a relief too, especially in today's economy. Only less than $100 a year. That's not much at all. And then I found out that there were some famous people in Toastmasters. I found out that there was Mrs. Fields of Mrs. Fields Cookies. I found out that there were Peter Coors from Coors Brewery. I found out that some of the people, I didn't even know their names, but I knew the titles. Like Miss America, 1997. Astronauts. Mercury. Gemini. Apollo missions. The founder of Domino's Pizza. Didn't know this before I started. But now that I know this, I can still keep climbing. I've only been in Toastmasters 4 years. And look at what Toastmasters has done for me. I didn't believe in myself, but other people believed in me, and they still do. And that keeps me moving. That keeps me stepping higher. I'm not perfect. I know I'm human. But I'm striving to be perfect one day. And I know that in Toastmasters, I can get what I need to move where I want to go. Before Toastmasters, I had no idea that I was even a leader. I didn't even know anything about the leadership program in Toastmasters. I knew about the communication track, but nothing about leadership. And now, by being here in front of you, I have a feeling that I can do anything. Because of my age, I know I can't be President of the United States, or maybe I can if I keep working towards that. But I know that I have more opportunities. And when I said that the club is the heart of Toastmasters, it's because in the club, we are in a safe environment. We can practice. And we don't have to worry about whether or not someone is going to laugh at us or whether or not someone is going to criticize us. And then we can step outside of Toastmasters and make a difference. And I know that when I'm in here, I'm comfortable. I'm safe. I can take my time. I can do what I need to do. And then I can go outside and use those skills. And I have done that. You say you've never had a trio member here? You have a trio member here now. And you will have a trio member here again. And if you notice, I had to step in front of the lights just to see what the lights felt like. Because this is the beginning of me being in front of the lights. And you did this for me. And now I know I can do it again and again and again and again and again. And that's what Toastmasters does. And in Toastmasters, we say we can do it again and again and again and again. And again, I need to say, the world needs leaders, good leaders. Toastmasters empowers leadership. And Toastmasters is where leaders are made.
Thank you, Brenda.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer, and he says, hey, hello, sorry. But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Farmer says, doctor says, chicken says...
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken...
Well, thank you all for your talks, and we're going to have a little discussion now. And what I'm going to do is ask a question, and anybody that'd like to start speaking, or if you'd like to follow up with something that somebody else has talking about. But I thought what was interesting about all the speakers had sort of a view of change. And I'm just wondering what the role of change is in leadership. And I know that there were a couple of people that had some specific examples of how important it is for leaders to be catalysts for change. Maybe Roxanne, would you talk a little bit about?
Well, I think that, whether you're talking about, as I mentioned before, your own family, your church, a civic organization, a business, that what you're really trying to do, both for yourself personally as well as for those people that you are leading, is you want things to get better. You want things to improve. It's a continuous process of improvement. And, some would argue that, that's the nature of leadership that's transformative, that the transformation is both on a personal level as well as within the organization itself that people are functioning in. So, it is the core of leadership. It's the purpose of leadership, which is to bring about the type of positive change that really reflects all of our aspirations and desires. Now, that gets there are very practical applications of that, and I think, we heard from other speakers in the context of whether it's a business or the Sheriff's Department or the Chamber of Commerce, that, there are then specific things that have to happen in terms of how that manifests itself in terms of production and efficiency as well as achievement in very measurable results for the organization.
And it's always uncomfortable, right?
Matthew Kelly writes a lot about being the best version of yourself, and along with that idea, he talks about change in these terms. It's not that people hate change, they just don't like the transition.
Right.
And what I've learned, I think, in my years is that, as I said earlier, time is the enemy. We go to bed at night, something happened, and we get up, and it's a whole new world. And I think as leaders, it's important for us to recognize that we're in constant transition now. And one of the things that Matthew Kelly tells us is that you have to recognize that in your systems and talk about it. This is crazy. He calls it crazy world. Today it's crazy world, and when you begin to talk to your coworkers and the folks that you do things with in the community and remind them that we're in a transition, and just about the time we think we've hit a change, there's going to be more transition, and something's going to happen that's going to make us or force us to be more nimble, learn how to adjust a little more quickly. But I think leaders have a responsibility to recognize that this transition today, more than probably ever in the history of man, this transition is a really significant thing to be mindful of.
Is it the role of the leader then to have a vision? Is that part of the change, to have some sort of vision that they're moving that organization towards? Yeah, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, we bring it down to the individual, and as far as having them be part of that change and to be ready for that change. In our organization, I mean, it's constantly changing, and they just got to be ready for it. And we do everything we can to prepare them, but they've got to have it in their heads that it's going to happen. So just be with us, or you got to hit the road really.
What kind of vision do you have for TQL? What kinds of when you first started out selling produce or whatever, how did you?
Right, yeah, so we didn't, so we thought it would just be the two of us, my partner and myself, in a small office for the rest of our lives.
Right.
But things just kind of started going. We started hiring, and we figured it out. It wasn't rocket science, so we started hiring on people and training them, and just found hard workers that were self-motivated and really ready to tackle anything in front of them.
And mentoring, you talked a lot about mentoring.
Right.
Was mentoring important for you as a leader as well as mentoring others?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the greatest thing about being a mentor is you learn as much yourself from mentoring somebody. Just an example real quick is one of our young guys who was only working for us for about 3 months. He came in with a black eye. So I knew that, he's probably at the bars got in a little fight. So he came to me, he said, I know, but, so he explained himself, and he said, I apologize for this. I know it's not good, good for the company to see me like this. What can I do to change? So really, and he asked me for a list for him to what he needed to change to become a leader in the future. So he would come back to me every 3 months and check off my list and add to it. So I thought that was a great example of how to actually get from here to here. And now this guy is one of our top 15 people in the company. Yeah. So
great.
Yeah.
Sheriff, do you think a leader is a great pusher or a puller?
Well, I think you have to do both, but quite frankly, the way I look at it is I look at things more or less as a participative effort. And that's something else with change. The people we're working with today, the workers, the deputies, my jail officers, and I'm sure in the private sector, they're different than they were in the past. They have different expectations. They have different aspirations. Not better, not worse, but different. And you have to, I think, be aware of that. But my philosophy is, and I think Ronald Reagan said it once, surround yourself with good people and delegate everything. Well, you can't delegate away the authority or the responsibility. But in our office, for example, we very much involve everybody. We're open to hearing suggestions from the troops, even if it's the most junior rookie. And I always refer to my staff as co-workers. I do not like the word subordinates. I do not like to even consider myself the boss, although they recognize I am. The way I look at it is we're all on a team together, and we're all equal members of that team. And I think with that, it helps to have that philosophy rather than the old autocratic, I guess you might say, dictatorial type of pushing that I don't believe the working staff or co-workers today accept. So that's the way I view it. So I have to do very little pushing. I tell people what's expected. I have sergeants, captains, lieutenants, corporals that then implement that, and it seems to work very well that way.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Barbara, do you think that women are at a disadvantage of being a leader, or maybe there are some advantages to being a woman?
Well, one of the disadvantages would be having my name pronounced wrong. It's Brenda.
Brenda. Just for today, it'll be Barbara.
No problem, no problem. I think women are just as strong of leaders as men are. I believe that we just need to have that opportunity and the fair advantage. And as far as being able to do things, I don't believe that it should even be a focus on gender. I believe it should be a focus on what the skill level is and whether or not they can accomplish the goal. So I try my best not to focus on just gender, because I believe that we all can do whatever we set our minds to do.
Do you think there might be some advantages for a woman being a leader, maybe from other roles that they play in their life?
There are advantages and disadvantages to everything. I believe that, yes, there are advantages of women being leaders. I believe that, for me, you mentioned the push-pull. I believe in pulling people. I really do believe in that empowering. In Toastmasters, there's a program called Delegate to Empower, and I really do believe in that. And it makes no difference if it's a man or a woman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wonder what, we talk about sort of the responsibilities of being a leader, but are there some advantages to being a leader? Are there, I don't know, perks of leadership?
I think that the perks and the benefits of being a leader are really around the idea of privilege. I had a good fortune a number of years ago to get involved in raising money for United Way. Raised about $1.8 million over about 3 or 4 months. That's a custom not only here in greater Cincinnati but across the country. And I remember when I got that call, you're in the queue, Mr. Van Sant, to run the United Way campaign one of the next 3 years. And I said, put me down for year 2. But I got into that work and met a lot of great people. I think raised a lot of money for good causes and good organizations. But when I was all done, and in that process, I had a chance to, to visit boardrooms and go to ball games with folks and do the kind of things that it takes to get things done. But at the end of it, I can remember at the finale thinking about what a privilege it was. And so I think really in leadership, folks getting behind you and helping support your work to get the accomplishment done. I remember years ago meeting former President of the Senate, Doug White. Doug was from Adams County. And I was there with a student at University of Cincinnati Clermont College who was in political science. And I said, Senator, tell this student what you've done to become President of the Senate, the second most powerful person in the state of Ohio. And he said, well, young man, remember this. One of these days you may get a chance to steer the cart. But before you get a chance to steer the cart, make sure you do your fair share of pushing. Do your fair share of pushing. Don't climb over top of a pusher, and please don't climb over top of that person steering. But the more you work to help push, the sooner you will get to the front of the cart, and the sooner you will get to steer. So a lot of this is just, I guess, the way I started. It's a privilege. A lot of other things, a lot of little things happen along the way, but it's just really rewarding when you hit that goal and when you do something for somebody else. It's really, I think, the important work.
Sounds like you're very passionate about the work that you do. What is the role of passion in I mean, it seems like if you're feeling lukewarm about something, it's very hard to get enthusiastic and actually provide the energy.
Yeah, great question. I think there's an amount of passion in just about everything. You just really have to drill into it a little bit. I've learned in my work there are thousands of causes, thousands of organizations, all that have, good work to be done, people that are doing good deeds, and it's searching for the positive side of this stuff. There's a new idea out there in community development called affirmative inquiry. And it's looking at the assets that we have in our community, and what do you like about your community, and what do you wish for your community. And I think, the passion is easy for me. I can find that little bit of something that gets me excited about buying a box of cookies from a Girl Scout. It's just what I do. Any Girl Scout in our neighborhood knows you come to my house and he's going to buy a box of Girl Scout cookies. And then we give them away.
I'd like to speak to that.
Sure.
I believe in being the leader. I believe the leader can get the job done. There are a lot of needs out there. There are a lot of leaders, but a lot of leaders have their hands tied. If you are the leader and you can make those decisions, then you can reach the goal and you can actually get the need met. That's what I believe.
I think the great thing about Toastmasters is that we all seem to be very passionate about what we do and helping others and
Yes.
mentoring.
Yes, the service part.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What if there are any interesting stories about your first leadership responsibility, the first time you stepped up to the plate? Was it in high school or grade school, or did you run for homecoming queen? I don't know.
Let me tell a quick story.
Sure.
I've got one. I was sheriff about a week, maybe a couple weeks, and again, I came from the outside. At the time, actually, there were two, I think, sheriffs in Ohio that had legal backgrounds, Simon Lease and myself. He's retired, of course, from Hamilton County. I'm the only one left, but I did not come up through the ranks. And I decided to learn the job. I would go out one night on patrol by myself in a marked unit and see what kind of trouble I could get myself into. The troops were worried about me. My wife was worried about me. She said, "You sure you want to do this?" I said, "This isn't rocket science." I was out on my own, and a robbery in progress call came out at a restaurant about 100 yards from where I was in my vehicle. And I said, uh-oh. So I did everything they taught you in the academy. Pulled up, off to the side where you don't run right up to the front door. Get out and sort of snoop around, look in the windows to see if you could see anything. Everything looked fine. People were coming and going. So after I looked like the coast was clear, I sort of eased my way in. And the manager saw me. I had my uniform on. He says, everything all right? I said, well, we got an alarm drop, I guess. You have a robbery in progress. He says, no, we don't have an alarm in here anymore. It was malfunctioning. We had it unhooked. I said, well, it's not unhooked. He says, well, we'll check on that. I said, everything okay? He said, absolutely. And I checked it out. Fine. I got back in my car. I thought, well, that wasn't hard at all. So I got on the radio, and I radioed into the communication center that it was a false drop, that the alarm was malfunctioning, and they were going to have it unhooked. I get home, and my wife says, well, cowboy, how'd you do? I said, well, I survived, didn't I? I said, there's nothing to this job. I'm not home 5 minutes, and the phone rings. And the voice on the other end says, hey, this is Sheriff. I said, yeah, that's the sheriff. Who is this? Well, I'm a burglar in this county, and you just broadcast on the air that restaurant doesn't have an alarm in it anymore. And I just may go back there and break in. I go, and there was a pause, and then there was laughing. And it was one of my sergeants. He was on duty that night. He said, Sheriff, next time that happens, what you may want to do is go to a phone, pick up the phone, and call it into the comm center, but don't broadcast it because someone with a scanner heard everything you said. And when I hung up, you know what my wife said? She said, you know, you must be those men must respect you as a leader, because there's not many guys that would call you up and humble you, the sheriff, by telling him, do it this way next time. So I think humility and a man knowing his limitations and learning from the troops is very important also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. What a wonderful experience. For those of you in the studio, I'm sure that you feel fulfilled that you got up on a Saturday morning, braved a little bit of weather to come out here and listen to what our experts had to say. For those of you out there watching in television or YouTube land, rewind, hit play again, rewind, hit play again, and take in some of those secrets. But first and foremost, pick one and put it into action this year. Just one. That's all that's really necessary, is one improvement every single year. And as Brenda was saying, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there'll be no stopping you. Everyone will sit back and go, wow, look what they've been able to accomplish. I want to thank all of our panelists for showing up today and sharing their experiences. I appreciate your participation and your willingness to do one more thing. I'm sure you get asked to do a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.